Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go ahead and get the cylinder head off of our 2006 Mitsubishi Eclipse, see what kind of damage we're looking at, and work on getting it fixed up. Enjoy. Okay guys, so here we are. There's not a whole lot to do left to go ahead and get the head off. I got to go underneath and get the bolts out for the catalytic converter that connects to the pipe underneath the car, so that we can get this manifold off. It's already unbolted from the head, but I've got to go under there and get that piece off so we can go ahead and lift it out of the way. And then I've got to get the rest of the harness disconnected down over here. It's mostly disconnected, as you can see. Just got to go ahead and get it the rest of the way disconnected. I got to remove the lower radiator hose. I have to get the timing belt off of the for the cam gear at the top off of there, which most likely I'm not even going to attempt to take the front of the engine apart because of time. I'm just going to go ahead and take that cam gear off, or I'm going to slip the belt off so that I don't have to mess with it right now. Or I'll even cut it, because I most likely will just put another one on, because just the belt itself is not that expensive, and I just put a timing kit on here. Well, not me, but someone else just put a timing set on this. So I'll just cut the belt off most likely and put a new one on, because I don't really like reusing them anyway. So that's most likely what we're going to do. So I'm going to work on getting the rest of this harness out of our way, and we'll move on to the next thing. Alright, so just one more little clip we got to get off down here, it looks like, and then we can go ahead and pull this harness up. Try not to break anything, obviously. That's never good. You don't want to break anything, so just trying to be gentle at the same time as getting this done. Well, you guys can barely see what I'm doing, and I apologize for that, but I can't really show you right now. Yeah, this thing does not want to let go. There we go. Okay. Yeah, that gave us quite a bit of room. Also, I'm not going to take the intake off because it's just a pain to get it off from the back there. It would be a lot quicker if I just got everything off the intake, fuel rail, and those kinds of things, and then just went ahead and pulled it off with the cylinder head. We'll see. If it's easy, I'll do it. If it starts to get ridiculous, I'll just keep it on, because I don't mind taking it all off at once. So looks like the injector rail bolts are a 12 millimeter. And I'm not going to disconnect the fuel line. I'm just going to go ahead and pull the injectors out, which we'll have to get new O-rings for those, which is not a big deal. I'm just going to pull these bolts out and then literally just set the rail aside with the hose, the fuel hose connected to it, because I don't mind. So that's how we're going to do it right now. Fuel rail is going to come out now. There is nothing else holding it down, but we're going to be very careful not to break anything. So I'm just going to rock it and pull it right out of the cylinders. There's your little spacers here. You need to keep an eye on those. I'll take those and put them with the bolts and set them aside. Now we can take this fuel rail and lift it right out of my way. And I'm just going to set it right over here, out of our way. Nothing insane, we're just going to get it out of our way. It's not going to hurt anything. I'm going to look down here now and see if I can see these intake bolts. It actually doesn't look that bad to get the intake off. I may do it. Looks like the engine dipstick, the oil dipstick is bolted to the intake. There's not a whole lot that is though. The only other thing is the The only other thing is your heater hoses and a couple other hoses back there on the intake. But overall, it doesn't look like it's going to be that bad. What I may even do is remove this guy, which looks like some sort of vacuum canister of some sort. And maybe that'll give us some access to the intake bolts better, or the nuts rather. So let's go ahead and pull this out. I'm not going to try and put all this stuff in a bin here that's labeled so I can keep everything organized as you would normally do on any job like this. Got stuck in my impact gun here. There it is. Okay. 2 more bolts here at the top. One there. One there. Okay, I don't know what that connects to, so we're going to pull it out slow. Alright, it's got no hoses to it, it's just some sort of vacuum canister, like I said. So, I'm going to put the bolts with it and set that aside as well. Alright guys, so I got the intake off. It took forever, it sucked. I decided to do it the hard way because I'm hard-headed, and I didn't take anything off to kind of make room for myself. I just wanted to try and get this head off as fast as possible. So that's the reason why it took so long. But I didn't move this water outlet. I didn't move any of the hoses. You know, I didn't really prepare for it. I was just being lazy. So once I got all that crap out of the way, it was much easier. It took me forever, like I said. This water outlet was the hardest thing to get off. I actually broke one of the bolts off in it. Also, one of the bolts for the idle air control valve, what it looks like an idle air control valve, broke off as well, which really, really sucks. I'm going to have to, I'm probably going to have to drill that stuff out. The bolts are being steel and the intake being aluminum. They're dissimilar metals, so they're going to corrode. That's just how it goes. So the intake is just laying in there. I'm not even going to take it out of the engine bay. There's no reason to. It is completely off. I'm going to leave it right there. We're going to go ahead and start tackling the head bolts in a second. First, I want to go ahead and get this timing belt off. I'm probably just going to cut it. I do not see a reason to bother with it because I'm going to replace it. So I'm just going to cut it, and then we're going to go ahead and pull the head right off after we break those head bolts loose. The head bolts look like a 12 millimeter 12-point socket. I definitely have that, so we should be able to do this no problem. So let's go ahead and start cut this belt off and go ahead and do that. All right, so while I do that, I'm going to take this bolt here, not a bolt, I'm going to take this wrench, I'm going to hold this bolt on the cam while I cut the belt off because I don't want it to snap. I don't want the cam to snap back to the position that the force wants it to be at. I'm going to cut the belt while holding it from going anywhere so that there is no way to damage anything. I'm going to go ahead and let the wrench down. Okay, so the cam doesn't want to move apparently, which is a good thing. Yeah, the cam's right where it wants to be, so that's fine. Sometimes when you get the belt off, the cam wants to snap to wherever the pressure is. So now we can go ahead and we're going to go ahead and detorque the cylinder head. The way you do, I'm going to start here. We're going to just go around and we're going to detorque all these head bolts. There's one. Go to this corner across here. There's that. This one now. Okay guys, after about an hour of fighting this head, because like I said, I was being lazy and I didn't want to get anything out of my way, figured out our problem. Now if you can see down in there, the top of the piston is broken where the ring sits. The ring groove, the top ring groove actually broke off. And the piston ring has just been in there just eating up the piston as well as the top of the cylinder head. This cylinder even had some stuff in it, I would say. This one doesn't have anything in it. That one looks like it has some impact marks as well. I don't know what fell into this engine or what was in here in the beginning, but this thing is toast. I mean, we're talking toast. All the pistons and connecting rods and yada yada would need to be replaced. At least that's how I would go about it. Okay, so here we are at the cylinder head. Don't mind the valves being down. The cam is just turned that way. It's not, you know. So here is the trouble cylinder. Now, we had a dead misfire on cylinder number 4 when this car was running, and we can see why. I mean, the rings just destroyed this head cavity. I mean, look at it. It's just destroyed. I mean, you can't see it, but the actual surface here is just, it's trashed. I mean, this head's probably no good. I don't know. I'll have to consult the machine shop and find out if this is savable. I would say it's probably not, but that doesn't mean it isn't. I'll have to talk to them. They'll have to check it out. I don't know if any of the valve seats are any good, you know, stuff like that. The head will have to be gone through and make sure that everything's working in the other cylinders, and then maybe repair that one if the head is savable. Also, let's take a look at the head gasket. So obviously cylinder 4 was blown. I mean, you can see it. It was blown clean through. So not only was this cylinder not holding compression in the first place, it broke the top ring on the piston as well and broke top of the piston off. So I don't know yet what we're going to do with this engine. I don't know if it's fixable. I don't know if it's worth fixing. We'll have to look at the cost and go from there. Well, I know this wasn't an action-packed video like you wanted it to be, but now you get to see what we're working with on our project car here. Unfortunately, the engine's in pretty bad shape. I mean, I can't believe that it was driving like this. I wish my brother had stopped driving it when this happened, because this wouldn't be so bad. If the piston had just broken and then it misfired and then he shut it off and never drove it again, we would be looking at the one piston, you know, maybe a couple pistons, a connecting rod and bearings and stuff like that. Pretty much a bottom end rebuild, you know, stuff like that. But now we're looking at a head, a bottom end rebuild, you know, stuff like that. And it may just be cheaper to find a used engine to start with, and then, you know, do the head gasket on it, do the intake gaskets, you know, refresh an engine that isn't in this bad a condition and start with that. Depending on what we do, it looks like most likely what I'm going to do with this car is end up just fixing it, get it running right, and then sell it, because I would never want to turbo an engine that started out this bad, unless, you know, we got a new head, you know, things like that. It just gets really expensive really fast. So most likely this isn't going to be the project that we're looking for, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. So I'll see you guys in the next video. I'll update you, you know, in the next video what I think we're going to do, what we can do. I'll have the cylinder head dropped off at the machine shop and let them tell me what our next step is, and I'll get back to you guys. Thank you very much for watching this video. I appreciate you guys tuning in for a few minutes today. I'll see you next time. Until then, have a good one.